answers would be trade and immigration, and then a little while earlier on the submarine kerfuffle with the French foreign minister said this is brutal, unilateral, and unpredictable decision. Reminds me a lot of what Mr. Trump used to do, and I can get you more examples.
Sure. Well, look, I would say I'm not sure those are that specific, and I've already spoken to the electric vehicles component. I think it's hard for any analyst to look at the president's approach to re-engaging with allies around the world, which is something that has been front and center to the president's approach to global engagement, to rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, to acknowledging that climate is one of the biggest crises we face around the world, to ensuring that we are working to promote human rights around the world, freedom of press around the world. I think the list of differences is probably a laundry list, and the list of similarities probably fits on the back of a tiny napkin.
One last tiny question. On the diplomatic boycott of the Olympics, can you give us any sense of a time frame for when we should expect that decision?
I don't have a time frame to give you today. Ashley, obviously the Olympics are in February, and I want to give the president and the national security team a little space. But as any updates are there to provide, we certainly understand the interest and we'll provide them to all of you. Go ahead.
You talked about the letter the president wrote to the FTC. How fast does the president expect that letter to bring down gas prices?
Well, I think what we're looking at here is highlighting and elevating an issue that should be pretty apparent to people across the country. And I would note, since you gave me the opportunity, that in the letter, the president also noted that the two largest oil and gas companies in the United States, measured by market capitalization, just to speak your kind of language, are on track to nearly double their net income over 2019. So just to give you a sense, they're set to earn $32.9 billion this year. In 2019, the two companies only earned $17.2 billion in combined net income. And I would also note that BP's CEO said, while announcing an additional $1.25 billion share buyback earlier this month, quote, "When gas prices are strong, this is literally a cash machine." So that's noted in the president's letter. This is a letter sent to the chair of the FTC. They are, of course, independent. They make independent choices. I would note that in a previous letter that was sent related to concerns we had about oil and gas mergers, they responded, obviously, and there have been reports out there, I would note a Reuters report out there that showed that this had an impact on oil and gas mergers. So I can't predict for you, I understand why you're asking, but given the independence of the FTC, I would point you to them. But certainly we see this discrepancy between the price that is coming down as it relates to oil and the price of gas is concerning.
So any consideration to reversing some of the policies that have led to this, maybe reconsidering the Keystone Pipeline as the Prime Minister of Canada is here?
Well, I think the problem with that argument is that the Keystone Pipeline isn't even really functioning. I mean, it was only partially built. It isn't even really functioning. So suggesting that changing that would lower the price of gas, I don't know that that makes substantive sense.
Well, but the market looks out, and they look at where it will be in the future, and canceling Keystone Pipeline, not allowing other pipelines to go forward, or challenging other pipelines might reduce or cause some concern in the market.
Well, we look at every pipeline on an individual basis. The president made the decision when only about, I think, 8% of the pipeline had been built not to move forward as we looked at the environmental impacts and weighed them with the economic impacts. And the decision was certainly made. So there's a range of options on the table. I unfortunately don't have anything more to preview for you today, but certainly lowering the cost of gasoline, something that people around the world, as you know, are experiencing, not just here in the United States, is of utmost concern and a priority to the president. A Canadian day.
Thank you, Jen. Two quick questions. The first one, I just want to follow up to the previous question. Trade protection policies are perceived as just as intransigent, this administration, as Trump's policies. How do you distinguish them?
Give me more information. In what way? You're talking about the electric vehicles component?
For instance, lumber also, the same attitude is adopted by this administration as by the previous one.
On lumber, in which way? Are you talking about tariffs or what specific component?
On tariff, and how difficult it is for Canadians to access the American market or favor the Americans. I understand that the president is fighting for good middle-class jobs, as I keep repeating, but it's good middle-class jobs on the other side of the border that are killed by this attitude.
Well, I would again reiterate a little bit of what I've said before. One, they're going to have a discussion about all of these issues. And as you've seen, the Prime Minister Trudeau and his delegation, as you know from reporting on them, will certainly raise this and other issues in the meetings. And we'll do a readout of that, as I'm sure they will do a readout of that. But the President's view continues to be that ensuring that investing in the electric vehicle industry here in the United States, something that helps consumers by lowering the cost of electric vehicles, making them accessible by dramatically lowering the cost of purchasing an electric vehicle by I believe about $12,500, makes it accessible to people in this country. That's also good for our climate, something we very much agree with Canadian leaders on, and the need to take steps on here in the United States as one of the world's biggest emitters. So that's a part of the discussion too. So I would say, again, that I think there are far more differences across the board, and I think probably people from the former president's team would probably agree with this as well, and their approach to foreign policy, then there are similarities. But this is an area where the president believes good paying union jobs is important to our market here, but also that investing in a clean energy industry that will help create jobs in the future is imperative. But lots of work we can do with the Canadians.
And it's been a month now that 16 Americans and 1 Canadian were kidnapped in Haiti. What is the administration has been doing? What has the administration been doing?
Well, we have a significant presence on the ground, including with law enforcement officials from the FBI and others who are working constantly to bring these individuals home. I wish I had an update for you today. I know everybody's seeking an update, but unfortunately there's nothing I have to report at this moment. Go ahead in the back.
So Russia said that recent conversation between National Security Advisor Sullivan and his Russian counterpart Patrushev was part of preparation for next contact between Presidents Biden and Putin. So are you planning such a meeting or phone call, and are you satisfied with the results of the Geneva summit, given the current situation around the tensions around Ukraine and the situation on the Polish-Belarusian border?
Well, as you noted, we have held discussions with Russian officials about Ukraine and U.S.-Russia relations recently. And as we announced yesterday, the National Security Advisor spoke with the Secretary of the Russian Security Council about regional and global matters of concern. I don't have anything to preview for you in terms of an additional contact or call or anything like that with President Putin, but certainly after their summit earlier this summer, we agreed there would be continued levels of contact and engagement at a high level, and that has proceeded since that point in time.
Is that right?
Not ruling out that the President of the United States will speak with the President of Russia at some point in the future. True. Go ahead.
Me, sorry.
Oh, well, I was going to go right behind you because today is also a Mexico Day.
Thank you. The North American Leaders Summit has many subjects on the table. Energy, you said organized crime, of course COVID, and certainly USMCA. In all of these areas, what does the United States government needs to see to consider this summit successful, especially in terms of the Mexican government? Do you expect any agreement today, and in which areas? Thank you, Jen.
Sure. So, at the bottom line is today is an opportunity to resume a level of engagement with the Canadians and the Mexicans in their leadership, at the leadership level, that had been stalled for 4 years, hadn't happened since 2016. And it's an opportunity to build on discussions that these leaders were also a part of, whether it was the G20, COP26, in different capacities. So today is an opportunity for leader-to-leader engagement, have a discussion about a range of challenges we all face, whether it's improving vaccine distribution and pandemic preparedness, something that is certainly on the minds of all leaders, strengthening North American supply chains, enhancing competitiveness, concrete actions on reducing methane emissions, follow up to the COP26 summit, and developing a regional compact on migration and protection for the Americas. In terms of what will come out of here, we'll have, the meetings have a couple of more hours, so I'll let them proceed before I preview that, but certainly the President was looking forward to the opportunity to engage face-to-face, have discussions about these important, vital issues with these leaders. Shelby? Okay, and then we'll do Shelby, last one.
Thanks. OSHA suspended its vaccine implementation and enforcement because of a court order. Given this update, is the administration still urging businesses to move forward with the president's vaccine and weekly testing rule? And Are you still working off of that January 4th compliance deadline?
We are. Let me be very clear. Our message to businesses right now is to move forward with measures that will make their workplaces safer and protect them, their workforces from COVID-19. That was our message after the first stay issued by the Fifth Circuit. That remains our message, and nothing has changed. I would note that recent polling, I think that just came out yesterday, showed that 60% of businesses are moving forward with measures that keep their workplaces safe. They're essentially implementing components or versions of these vaccine requirements because they know it's in the interests of their workforces, to protect their workforces, to make sure they can bring more people back